Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Lolex. Today, we will look at section 4 of the listening test of a sample IELTS exam. Read the questions given and try to answer them as the audio is being played. We'll pause after each section in the dialogue to discuss the question related to it and to answer it. Now, let's listen.
Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You are going to hear a lecture. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen to the tape and answer questions 31 to 40.
I'd like to introduce Rebecca Bramwell, an artist and illustrator who has come along today to talk to you all about getting your first job or commission as an artist. Over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you for inviting me. I remember when I graduated back in 1983, I was very excited about getting my first commission. My degree was in fine art, and I'd worked long and hard to get it. I was an enthusiastic student and I never found it difficult to find the incentive to paint. I think as a student you're pushed along by fellow students and tutors and the driving force is there. However, when you leave college you find yourself saying things like, "I'll have one more cup of coffee and then I'll sit down to work."
That was the answer to question number 31, when Rebecca says that artists will say to themselves, "I'll have another cup of coffee and then get to work," which is another way to say that they have trouble motivating themselves. So the answer to question number 31 is C.
I hate to admit it, but I say it myself. Suddenly it isn't finding the inspiration or getting the right paper that's a problem. It's you. In my view, there are a number of reasons why this happens. It's a real challenge making a decent living as a new artist.
That is the answer to question number 32, when Rebecca says that it's a real challenge to make enough money as an artist. So the answer to question number 32 is A.
You have to find a market for your work. Often you work freelance and need to take samples or portfolios of your work from place to place. These experiences are common to a lot of professional people. But artists also have to bare their souls to the world in a way. More than anything, they want praise. If people don't like what they create, then it can be a very emotional and upsetting experience hearing them say this.
That was the answer to question number 33, when Rebecca says that if people don't like their work and criticize it, that can be very upsetting. So the answer to question number 33 is D.
I began to realize that these problems were preventing me from having a career in art, and so I decided to experiment. I was a painter, but I started to dabble in illustration, drawing pictures for books, cards, and this offered me the opportunity to become more emotionally detached from my work. I was no longer producing images from the heart, but developing images for a specified subject, taking a more practical approach.
And that was the answer to question number 34, when Rebecca says that it afforded her the opportunity to be more detached from her work, which is another way of saying to have objectivity about her own work. So the answer to question number 34 is A.
I began to develop a collection of my illustrations which I put into a portfolio and started to carry around with me to show prospective clients and employers. But it was still tricky because publishers, for example, want to know that your drawings will reproduce well in a book, but without having had any work published, it's hard to prove this.
That was the answer to question number 35. When Rebecca says that publishers weren't sure about whether her work would be reproduced well in a book. So the answer to question number 35 is B, equally cautious about her work.
Having a wonderful portfolio or collection of original artwork is, of course, a first step. But what most potential clients would like to see is printed artwork, and without this evidence, they tend to hold back still when it comes to offering a contract. Well, I overcame this problem in two ways, and I suppose this is my advice to you on preparing your portfolio of your best work. The first way was by submitting my work for a competition.
That was the answer to question number 36, when Rebecca says that she submitted her work in a competition. So the answer to question number 36 is competition.
The one I chose was for a horoscope design and was sponsored by a top women's magazine. There are a few of these competitions each year, and they offer new illustrators an opportunity to showcase their work. The other approach I took was to design and print some mock-up pages of a book.
And that was the answer to question number 37, when Rebecca says that she designed and printed mock-up pages for a book. So the answer to question number 37 is design and print.
In other words, I placed some of my illustrations next to some text in order to demonstrate how my work would look when it was printed. Perhaps I was lucky in that I had taken a degree that provided me with all-round creative skills, so that I could vary my style and wasn't limited to a certain technique.
That was the answer to question number 38, when Rebecca says that she could vary her style and use a variety of techniques. So the answer to question number 38 is style and techniques.
I think that is important. The art world and many other creative fields do try to pigeonhole people into snug boxes with an accompanying label. I think you should try to resist this if you feel it happening to you. If you don't, you'll find it difficult to have new work accepted if you try to develop your style at a later stage in your career. Nevertheless, when you start out, and particularly when you're going for an interview, it's important not to confuse people by having a lot of different examples in your portfolio. One remedy for this is to separate your work into distinct categories.
That was the answer to question number 39, when Rebecca says that it's important to separate your work into distinct categories. So the answer to question number 39 is distinct categories.
In my case, I did this by dividing my design-inspired illustrations from my paintings. It is then easier to analyze the market suited to each portfolio, such as magazines, book jackets, CD covers, etc. Working under two names is also useful, as it clarifies the different approaches and offers a distinction between them.
And that was the answer to question number 40, when Rebecca says that working under two names is also useful. So the answer to question number 40 is two names.
I think it's been hard for artists to be recognized in anything other than the pigeonholes that they have been placed in. Luckily, these barriers are slowly being demolished.
This is the end of Section 4. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers.
That is the end of today's lesson. If you have any questions or doubts, please leave a comment. If you found the video to be helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more English grammar lessons and IELTS exam help. Thank you.